Assalamu alaikum. So, Alhamdulillah, I got married in Indonesia and I now live here long term. So, this video, you're going to understand some on the ground reality of protecting your family in both the West and a Muslim majority country. I grew up non Muslim living in the West. I've traveled to over 25 countries, Alhamdulillah, and now I'm relocated permanently or long term at least to Indonesia. So, yes, starting with no alcohol. Now, in the West, there is ads for alcohol, there is pubs everywhere, nightclubs. Every store that you go to is going to sell it, and it's going to be a big part of the store. There's going to be people drinking in the streets, etc. So you're going to be walking around with your family, and this is going to be everywhere, undeniably. But Alhamdulillah, West Java, where I live, so the part of Indonesia I'm living in, has a complete ban on alcohol advertisement. You just don't see it anywhere. Alhamdulillah, the main store chains, so Indomaret, Alphamart, etc., which is where you're going to be going for groceries, etc., 100% alcohol free. You're going to see no alcohol. You're just not going to see it. Alhamdulillah, like I've been here now for 10 months, you just don't see it. Small stores, they're banned from selling it, and most of the stores in Indonesia are small stores anyway. I've never seen a bar, a nightclub, person drinking, etc., but every single place you go in the West, there's people drinking, people coming out of the pubs, there's people doing drugs and all sorts. But Alhamdulillah, you just don't have it here. In Indonesia, you've got like tourist Bali is going to have alcohol. Specific non-Muslim areas, like if you go to a very renowned hotel in Jakarta, for example, which is going to be all foreigners, there's going to be alcohol most likely. But just day to day, if you're living anywhere where amongst Muslims, which is pretty much all of it, you're just not going to see it. Like you're just never going to see alcohol, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And you don't acknowledge or appreciate this until you come to a Muslim majority country. Then you go back to the West. Like I went back to Switzerland and the UK for about a week, and I really noticed it because I've been in Egypt, Malaysia, Indonesia for quite a while, and then I went back and I was just seeing people coming out of pubs, shouting and stuff, people barging, fighting, etc. But you just don't see it here, alhamdulillah, day to day. And the benefits really are not about ourselves. The benefits are about our wife and our kids, because your wife and your kid can't handle a drunk man shouting at them for wearing the hijab, etc., like you can handle walking through something. You're a man, it doesn't matter. But when it's your family, it's a vastly different thing. And alcohol is just, obviously it's haram firstly, and it's haram for a very clear reason, because it destroys so many areas of society. But you just don't have it here, alhamdulillah. You just don't see it, and it's a big, big thing that you don't realize this as until you actually leave and go back. So yeah, unlike the West, where every social event is tied to alcohol. So if you've got a job in the West, most social events, there'll be alcohol involved. Go to the pub for networking and whatnot, and just general social events. Football, it involves alcohol. Socializing, and even family events, etc. But yeah, socializing here is things that actually benefit us. So it'll be socializing at the masjid. It'll be Islamic classes at the masjid, or going out for food, or going doing activities and stuff. So actually things that benefit you. At night, your family can walk around. What a beautiful thing. Like that sounds so simple. Like how has the world come to the point where families can't walk around at night? But alhamdulillah, within the Muslim majority countries, you absolutely can. Women can walk around alone or with a pram, whatnot. Maybe it's not the most smart thing still for a woman to walk at night, but they can. And you're not going to have the fear of a drunk person coming over. If you're walking around with your family anywhere, you're not going to have the fear of a drunk person coming over, or a drunk group coming over and whatever. They do all sorts nowadays, especially if you're visibly Muslim. Even if you're non-Muslim, it's not even safe to walk around. But going around, if your wife's wearing the niqab, you're in a thobe at night time and there's a bunch of drunk people, which is very common in the West, like that's not going to end well, is it? On enough of a time frame. But yeah, alhamdulillah, you can just walk around here, no fear of a drunk person coming over. You don't have even these weird scenarios. Let's say you're on a train or something and there's drunk people shouting. You just don't have that here. But you just get that so much in the West. You get really desensitized to these things when you've been in the West for a while. You don't even notice it. But like I said, when I went back, it's just so noticeable and it's just not normal. But yeah, alhamdulillah, it's really good here. And yeah, having kids here versus the West is just incomparable, because kids that have grown up desensitized to alcohol being everywhere, to people within the school drinking alcohol and stuff, where it's just so normalized to them. It's just not comparable at all. It's really not comparable. And let alone the dangers that they're going to have of people being drunk, etc. So yeah, alcohol's just not even a thought here, alhamdulillah. I mean, it's better to have preserved deen with no Western degree, because this is typically what people that want to stay in the West, a big part of it is like they want the Western degree, they want the education, the opportunities, etc. But then all of a sudden they've drank alcohol, they've fallen into a low iman, low Islam stage, and they've drank alcohol, they've hooked up, they've lost their iman. How common is this story? Like, how common actually is this story? So, alhamdulillah, we don't have that issue in the Muslim majority countries. No gambling, 100% illegal in Indonesia. So, alhamdulillah, you just don't have it. You can't gamble. In the West, you go into a town center, there's casinos everywhere, there's people coming out, they've just lost the whole family's money, there's gambling addicts. Like, you could be, for example, if you're driving around, there could be a gambling addict just behind you, and he's all of a sudden, like, he's just lost so much, and he's so emotional whilst he's driving. It just objectively makes society more dangerous. Like, though, that gambling addict is going to be more likely to start a fight, it's going to be more likely to crash, going to be more likely to these things. But yeah, alhamdulillah, we don't have gambling addicts going around, and it destroys so many lives. Even Muslims, it's probably less. I mean, amongst the non-Muslims, gambling destroys and it takes a lot of lives. It destroys a lot of families. But alhamdulillah, we don't have this in the Muslim majority countries. No hookups, so big thing. The overwhelming majority in Indonesia, where I am, are Muslim. They wait until marriage. Hookups is completely socially unacceptable, as it is in Islam. So it's a very good thing, because when society is shunning people that would ever do this, they're going to be way less likely to do it. So overall, we preserve dignity amongst the Muslims. The vast majority of people are going to be virgins until marriage. So obviously that's what you're looking for. If you're a man watching, you're looking for a virgin wife. Like, that's what most men are looking for. Or at least, like, she's been previously married and stuff, which is still respectable, of course. But yeah, alhamdulillah, here it is the norm, like the absolute overwhelming majority norm, which is just the complete opposite to the West. The average person in Britain loses their virginity at 17. Dating and hookup culture is basically everyone. Very few people is waiting till marriage. Like, it would be probably 5%, a very, very low amount. Naturally, if you're Muslims living amongst these non-Muslims, it's going to come in as well. It's absolutely going to come in, and I know very well that it has come into a lot. Like, the amount of stories of Western Muslims, they grow up completely non-Muslim education, primary school, secondary school, or whatever the US equivalent is. They grow up in these non-Muslim educations because their parents want them to have a better future. They're doing it with good intentions, but they end up so many cases, they end up doing zina, they end up drinking alcohol, they end up completely losing their deen. The amount of stories like this is just absolutely crazy. It's so crazy, the amount of Muslims I know who have fallen into these stories just because they wanted a Western, or whatever, the parents pushed them into a Western degree, and it's just so extremely common. So yeah, may Allah protect our families from this. When everyone around them is doing it, they're going to feel like an outsider. When every single person around them is going drinking alcohol, doing drugs, doing zina, like it is at university, etc., they're going to feel like an outsider, and they're going to feel, because they're going to be socially pressured into doing these things. And when everyone around them, on the opposite hand, when everyone around them is waiting for marriage, they're going to feel weird if they went and hooked up when they knew all their friends are going to mock them for it and be like, why have you done this? But alhamdulillah, in the Muslim majority countries, people are waiting around. They're actually uplifting them. Rather than having to constantly put our children in a bubble in the West, literally the outside society is uplifting them in these areas. So yeah, alhamdulillah, the Muslim lands preserve our families' dignity and our deen. Obviously, Allah is the one in control. Allah can absolutely protect within the non-Muslim lands, and Allah can And these bad things can happen within the Muslim lands. Of course, it's up to Allah, but your job is to make the right actions, and being in the Muslim lands significantly preserves our family's dignity and our deen. So, drugs as well. So never once have I seen drugs here in public. But like I mentioned, I went back to the West for about a week, and there was people smoking weed everywhere in public, Muslims even, or supposedly Muslims, like visibly Pakistani and whatnot, which is a perfect example of how the Western societies creep into the Muslims, which is very unfortunate when I look back on it. To be honest, it was actually Muslims that was, or like probably born Muslims, smoking weed and stuff in public. And this is so common. Like I went to Toronto, Canada, and it's literally everywhere. New York, there's people doing it everywhere. There's drug stores. Thinking about it, there's literally drug stores everywhere in New York. Like, this is absolutely ridiculous when I think about it. But yeah, drugs extremely rampant. Nightlife culture includes much heavier drugs. It's very, very common. So alhamdulillah, you just don't see it at all. You don't see drugs. You don't have drug users. Like if you go to a UK town centre, there's going to be people like drug users, people that are homeless and they all do drugs. Every single town centre. I've been to probably more than 50 town centres in the UK, and every single town centre has these. They're called crackheads. Yeah, may Allah guide them to all to Islam and to leave that behind. But yeah, I mean, the biggest benefit of this, again, is for your wife and your kids. It's not for you, because you can handle the drugs. You can handle people doing drugs in public. If you're firm upon the deen of Islam, you can say, okay, yeah, I'm not going to do this, and you're not going to probably do it. But when your wife and your kids are around this stuff, it's just a horrible, horrible thing. Imagine your wife, even you're out with your wife. Let's say you're out with your wife, because you put, like, realistically, why are you going to send your wife out in the West? Like, I don't even think that's even an option. But if you're out with your wife and then drug users come over and stuff, that's a horrible interaction. It's a horrible place to be in. So yeah, alhamdulillah, the bigger benefits are with your wife and your kids, and it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful way of life not having these things. It's such a beautiful way of life to not have alcohol. Not visibly alcohol anywhere, no gambling anywhere, no hookups, no drugs. Such a beautiful thing, alhamdulillah. And yeah, all the four things mentioned, steer one away from Islam gradually, even if we're not doing it, because over time we become desensitized to it. All of a sudden, one can find himself sinning. When he's become so desensitized to these things, one can find himself doing all sorts. If you're capable of flying over to a Muslim majority country, I really think we should just do it. Have the tawakkul in Allah. A Western degree, the quality of life which is pushed about the West, freedom, etc., it means nothing if it harms our deen. It means absolutely nothing, is my personal perspective on it. So, inshallah, if you was on the fence, maybe it can push you, but most likely if you're watching this video, you're actually already certain you want to leave the West, you want to make Hijrah. So if you'd like help getting married and relocating to Indonesia, you can go to the link in the description, get on a free call, and inshallah I can literally help you go through the entire process and actually be a married Muslim man living in a Muslim majority country, because it's a very beautiful thing, and I'm trying to help, and I'm helping brothers now do it as smooth as possible. So yeah, inshallah, if you are interested in that, then I will see you there. Assalamu alaikum.